Welcome to the Hustle Pod. It's Brian Power, joined by my good buddy Drew Martin here on a Wednesday. And we have got you covered for NFL Week 2 with not one, not two, but maybe even three trends to help you handicap your NFL slate for this week. Drew, I love when a great plan comes together independently. You and I wanted to focus on the same things this week. So why don't you take it first, my man, and introduce kind of the first talking point we've got for the people here today on NFL Week 2.
BP, happy Wednesday to you. And absolutely, man. I guess we could just go top to bottom here if you're cool with it. In the way I put it in the Slack, which BP correctly stated, we're on the same page here. We'll start with the totals, guys. In the NFL Week 1, going from Thursday night to Monday Night Football. Don't look now, BP. 4-12 to the under. If you were just straight betting unders, you're up pretty big here, man. And it comes, I guess, just a couple topics off the top of my head towards it. Why unders have been good in the NFL early on. Defense ahead of offense. The foundation of kind of football in general. If you go down to the NFL, you go down to college football, high school football. I'm not too acclimated with Pee-wee football, the local Pee-wee leagues, but I would guess it's the same in that nature, where defense reactionary, offense timing based, and therefore defense is ahead of offense early in the year. However, betting markets should know that by now. And maybe it's just something that, hey, they haven't kind of adapted to enough early on. Plus, we had some weather there, particularly in the Sunday night and Monday night games. But overall, BP, it's something that I take notice of. It's something I think can kind of continue here weeks 2 and weeks 3. I'll tell you this, my first look is towards the under for this upcoming weekend NFL when betting totals rather than overs. But what are your thoughts here, man? 4-12 to the under, making some money betting unders.
Yeah, absolutely, Drew. You know baseball, of course, and they always say the pitchers are ahead of the hitters, right, at the start of the season. And I think when you move to the football field here, one of the big talking points seems to be the lack of reps for the skill position players, particularly quarterbacks in the preseason. And I wanted to focus on that because, I know you had at least one eye, probably two, on the Miami Chargers game on Sunday, but that was the exception, not the rule when it came to quarterback play. There were 18 teams in week 1 that did not hit 200 net passing yards. Now, that factors in sack yardage as well. That was the most instances of a team not hitting 200 net passing yards in week 1, going all the way back to 2008. So which position sees the least amount of reps in the preseason, Drew? It's the starting quarterback, right? So I don't know if it's necessarily like the main reason, but it's got to be a contributing factor. These guys didn't get a lot of reps. Of course, there's one fewer preseason game than there used to be, but you had 11 quarterbacks in week 1 with a QBR under 30. The quarterback play overall was just not very good. I was watching Cincinnati, Cleveland very closely. That was a bad weather game, but man, Watson was like skipping the ball to his receivers, and Joe Burrow was just the 8th quarterback. Here's an incredible stat for you. Joe Burrow is the 8th quarterback in NFL history to have 30 plus attempts and less than 82 passing yards in the same game.
Wow.
I mean, that's incredible. So I'm with you. If I'm looking to play totals, at least early on in this season, it would be towards the under. I'm looking at the wagertalk.com odds screen right now. The highest total currently on the board, I think, is 49 for the Thursday game, as a matter of fact. Minnesota and Philadelphia, the highest total for Sunday is 47. That's pretty crazy. Not a single total over 50 this week. That had become the norm in recent years. So we shall see if the trend continues.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. We got week 2 here, Thursday night. With the short week, I almost go back to, does short week help defense more? Does it help offense more? That total of 49. I don't know. I know we're not supposed to get into to specific games here, but hey, would you go with that under?
Well, here's the thing. Another trend, the theme of the show. Primetime unders have been money in the bank for the last several years, right? And what did we see last week? The under was a perfect 3 for 3 in prime time. The Thursday game with Detroit and Kansas City. The Giants didn't score at all, obviously. And then the Jets and Bills with the Aaron Rodgers injury. Man, if you had the under in that game, you were probably feeling pretty good after the first quarter. So, yeah, I naturally lean towards unders, Drew. I'm not going to
Mhm.
lie. I think people who follow me know that already. It's pretty rare I would bet the over, even if it was we weren't coming off a week like last week. But yeah, I mean Philadelphia didn't do much offensively. They were gifted a 16-0 lead. I'll say this: Minnesota, they turned it over. They should have scored more points against Tampa Bay. I'm glad they didn't because I had the Bucks. But Cousins had 2 interceptions deep in Tampa Bay territory that cost him, but still only 17 points. So yeah, I mean, a high total like that, I wouldn't be surprised if that game went under, quite frankly.
Sure, sure. Well, get into the side portion of this, guys. Hitting the totals here in the NFL side portion. One thing I took away, BP, here is road teams 12-4 against the spread, 10-6 straight up. So NFL going on the road. People talking about how much is home field advantage worth. It can kind of shift, of course, from stadium to stadium, team to team, but man, this is something I like to really hone in on early in the season. 12-4 against the spread, just blindly betting road teams. And BP, I talked about this with Teddy on the NFL opening line report each and every Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Make sure to check it out, guys. And we went back and forth with a couple reasons why this is happening, but at least why it happened through 1 week. I kind of am in the camp that NFL travel accommodations are so comfortable that, going from the West Coast to the East Coast, staying in a really nice hotel, that whole, I don't know. I think that that's part of it. It's not tough. A Sun Belt team traveling out to the West Coast and chartering planes and this and that. It's a very comfortable trip. And Teddy brought up a good point of a lot of these kids have played in tough environments throughout college before they get to the NFL. So maybe the kind of atmosphere in the stadium is just they're getting a little bit more experience with it. But yeah, man, what are your thoughts here? Road teams kind of dominating, making some money.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is here we've got 9 road teams favored in week 2. So more than half of the road teams are favored. Last week, I'll tell you, road underdogs were very good. They were 7-2 against the spread with 5 outright winners. I had one of those outright winners, Tampa Bay. Also, I had a Tennessee plus the points. It's an interesting thing you talk about with what home field advantage is now versus what it used to be. When I got into this industry, the token thing was, well, it's 3 points. It's worth 3 points to the line. Now it's definitely closer to 2. I don't think there's many spots where I would give a team 3 points for home field advantage. And I don't know. I mean, just like these modern stadiums, a lot of times, I just don't think it's, you kind of touched on the environment. I just don't think it's as, fear inspiring for the road team. I mean, these are professionals after all. I don't think they're scared of a crowd, but I think of the tremendous home field advantages that used to exist in the 80s and 90s. They're just not there. And it's tough. And I lean to the fact that another reason road teams did so. I mean, obviously, if it's 7-2, and you said it was 12-4 all road to. So road favorites still went 5-2 last week. But I don't know. To me, I always like taking road underdogs because I think home field advantage is overrated in this league. So those are the teams I would be looking at in week 2. The teams getting points on the road. Again, if you follow me, you've probably figured out by now. I generally don't take too many road favorites, but I do love a good road underdog. Again, got a road underdog on Thursday with Minnesota. And then another game I think people really need to keep an eye on is the Seattle-Detroit. Okay, Detroit looks great on Thursday. They got extra rest. Seattle, they look terrible. They lose outright to the Rams. That line moves from 2.5 to 6. Is that an over adjustment in the market? We shall see. The other, it's interesting. A lot of these big line moves were all on road teams. The 49ers, okay, they're at the aforementioned Rams. They were 4.5 at the open, according to the wagertalk.com odds screen. They're now all the way up to -8. I think the Giants, another road favorite, are going to take money as well. So just a couple games that people could take an eye on. But, generally speaking, I'm always looking to grab road teams plus the points, Drew.
Like it, BP. And I know we're running up against it time-wise here, keeping these hustle shorts. Make sure to check out Thursday night, the Hustle Show tomorrow. I believe BP might be on tomorrow night. I'll be there. CT Trig. So it should be a fun one, guys. We get ready for week 2, college football, week 3 as well. BP, I know you had one here, man.
Yeah.
Top of your mind off of week 1 NFL. What are we thinking? First year head coaches.
Well, first of all, everyone loves having a job, right, Drew? But these first-year head coaches last week were 0 for. All 5 of the first-year head coaches lost in week 1. So, it's one thing that's interesting is first-year quarterbacks have generally been terrible in week 1. First-year coaches had actually been profitable, but you look at who the first-year coaches are this season and who their quarterbacks are. 3 of them have rookie quarterbacks, and another one in Arizona has Josh Dobbs, who's, only starting because Arizona is pretty much tanking the season, even though they did cover in week 1. The only first-year head coach with the new team who had an experienced quarterback was Denver. Sean Payton with Russell Wilson. They lose outright at home to the Raiders, so he's up against it this week because he's again a home favorite against Washington in week 2. Interestingly enough, we have 2 first-year head coaches with rookie quarterbacks matched up against each other in the AFC South, Indianapolis and Houston. So I'll throw it to you. What do you think about the fact, because usually there's a sense of, momentum. I don't know about momentum, but it's just kind of like a new feeling in the building when you get a first-year head coach, right? A new sense of optimism. Optimism was the word I was looking for there. What do you think that none of them won in week 1?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, the quarterback stat that you threw out, that's one that I've tracked, and I think there's actually something to that. I mean, these top-notch, top drafted quarterbacks week 1 going in. I mean, what the first pick overall in the draft is now 0-14 against the spread. That's a crazy stat, guy. That's something to
Yeah.
notice there. And of course, Bryce Young with the Carolina Panthers going down this past week. We'll see if it carries over to week 2. The coaches, I would go towards. I'm not so sure, BP, that's more individualized. Like first year head coaches, I feel like some guys could come in and really dominate a room. Others, if you're just kind of like a long term, maybe OC or DC, and you've never really had the head man in charge, you might be kind of up against it just because of experience level. So it obviously went over in week 1, like your trend states, but I don't know that I would use that next year and be like, oh, for sure, I'm looking to fade first year head coaches like I would be at the quarterback position, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And one interesting thing with the first year head coach is 3 of the 5 were first time head coaches. I mentioned
Mhm.
Sean Payton earlier. Obviously, Sean Payton's won a Super Bowl. Frank Reich coached previously with Indianapolis, now in Carolina. There's just one quick little trend I want to share for people. One more. We're just throwing a lot of actionable info people can jot down and break down for week 2. Teams off double-digit losses in week 1 have come back and covered the spread 63% of the time in week 2. There are 8 teams that are off double-digit losses last week. 2 of them right there on the screen. Houston and Indianapolis matched up against one another. The other 6, though, if you want to make note, Giants, Seahawks, Cincinnati, who's a favorite against Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Carolina. So both Monday night home dogs are off double-digit losses, something that the people may want to take note of for week 2.
Yeah, you mentioned one of them being a favorite. Actually, the Giants are a favorite too.
Yeah.
After that ugly performance, minus five and a
And
half now
against Arizona, who's terrible. And the Giants, I think, are going to be a lot of people's survivor pick as well this week. I would stay away from that. I don't know. A Giants team that's going to regress on the road. I know they're playing Arizona. I wouldn't be too comfortable projecting a straight up win. But what do I know? Who knows? Maybe they will. Maybe they'll run away with it. I know there's a lot of trends historically that say they will. So
BP, awesome stuff, man. Great
yeah.
trends here, guys. Check them out, wagertalk.com. I'm Drew Martin. Yeah, man, I feel a little bit more enlightened here coming into the week 2 NFL slate. Hopefully you guys did as well. Let us know below in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. That is what we do. We strive to inform all you all. And do me a favor, smash that like button here on the show. Subscribe to the Wage Talk YouTube channel, obviously. And we will be back on Thursday. Like Drew said, the Hustle Show proper will be on. And then we'll have we're doing 5 days a week now, Drew. We're all over the place. So yes, please go ahead, smash that like button. We'll be here for you each and every single day on Wager Talk TV. Until Thursday, he's Drew Martin. I'm Brian Power. Thank you very much.